Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where in a moment I'm going to take a look at this puzzle which has been requested by a viewer today. I think this is another of these puzzles from an iPhone app, and it's an expert rated puzzle. So it looks like it's better than the average app though, because if you look, the grid is symmetrical. So it's symmetrical about this diagonal here, which shows that more care than you usually see has gone into the creation of this app, so it might be a good puzzle. Anyway, we'll have a look at that in a minute. The other thing I want to mention though is that we had a request, we've had a few requests from people about the puzzles of Okuyama, who was one of the wonderful setters of Sudoku puzzles that used to appear regularly on Nickly.com. And of course Nickly.com, unfortunately, especially for those of us in the West, is defunct now. You can no longer subscribe, and it's disappearing from our computers. So the question was, well, how can I get hold of these Okuyama puzzles? Well, you can buy books of puzzles from Nickly.com, and I'll put a link in the video description that will let you see where to get those from. I mean, you then have to work out which of the kanji characters relate to Okuyama and find his puzzles within the collections, but they are available in that way. The other way you'll be able to get hold of them though in the future is on our channel. I'm delighted to say that we've been in conversation with Nickly, and they've agreed that we'll be able to use some of Okuyama's puzzles going forward. So I hope once every couple of weeks to showcase the Sudokus of this wonderful, wonderful setter. And you may think, oh, how does one Sudoku differ from another? Well, I can tell you they really do, and his puzzles really are something else. So that's something to look forward to. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at this puzzle. So as usual, I'll use pencil marks if I can see in any 3x3 block that a number can only go in one of two positions. So I'm looking here, for example, in this 3x3 block, you can see ones are locked into these two squares because of this one here and this one here. I'll make little pencil marks just to remind me of that as we go through. So what can I see? Oops, I can pencil mark some ones there. I can enter a large 2 down here because of this 2, and this 2 interacting on this 3x3 block. That allows me to pencil mark 2's into those squares. And these two squares. In fact, the positions of 2's are seriously restricted if we look down column 6 and column 7 here, because you can see that we can't place a 2 in either of these two positions. We can place a 2 in either of this cell or this cell, just putting a pencil mark in there just to indicate this, but we can't put a 2 in either of these two positions, and we can put a 2 in either of those two positions, but we cannot place a 2 in either of these two positions or either of these two positions. So straight away here we have an odd arrangement of 2's in column 6 and column 7, and this is a classic X-wing. And what does that mean? Pause the video if you can't see anything, or if you don't understand how this is important, and I'll explain now. What this means is that we know that in the final solution there will either be a 2 here and a 2 here, or a 2 here and a 2 here. So we can immediately look at the rows now. We can look at row 2 and row 6, and we know that there won't be any other 2's in these rows. So that matters now, because that means there cannot be a 2 in this position. We could see already there couldn't have been a 2 here from this 2 in this position. But there also can't be a 2 here or here. So I'm just wondering if we can use that to our advantage. So what are the options left for this square? Let's start with this one. So now 1, 2, 3 are all ruled out. This could be a 4, can't be a 5 or a 6, can't be a 7 or a 9, and can be an 8. So this square is limited now to a 4 or an 8. that's not going to be limited terribly much. Let's look at this one. So this can't be a 1, can't be a 2, can't be a 3, can be a 4, can't be a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. This square here, good lord, that is a lovely spot straight off the bat. Has to be a 4. So now we can pencil mark 4s there. I'm already thinking this puzzle is better than I was expecting, so we're definitely going to have to appreciate there may be some good logic in this one. This is let's just check this square. You can see this square can be, what can it be? It can be a 2, 6, 7, 2 or an 8. Can still be an 8, unfortunately. Can't see a way of eliminating an 8 from this square. That's annoying. Right, so we've got a 7 here and a 7 here and a 7 here. So this square here, that's going to have to be a 7. Let's put that in. 7's in those two positions. I'm going to have to remember my 2's are a bit misleading in terms of my pencil marks here, but I do want to keep track of the X-wing that we found, just because X-wings aren't typically easy to remember. So let's just have another look at column 8. We've got 2, 5, 6 and 8 to place, so this is restricted. This has to be a 2 or a 5. This has to be a 6. That's the only thing that will fit in there. Look, let's put that in. 6. Which means I can pencil mark some 6's down there. We've still got 2, 5 and 8 to place in the column. So this is a 5 or an 8. This is a 2 or an 8. This is a 2 or a 5. There's something else going on in this block, I think. So 7's are pushed upwards into one of these 3 positions. This position, or this position. This squares. What can this square be? It can be 1, 2, it can't be 1, 2, it can't be 3, 4, it can be 5, can't be 6, can't be 7, can be 8, can't be 9. So there is a 5, 8 pair here in this row. So that gives us an 8 into one of those 2 positions. And now we have to find a home for the 9 in here as well. And look, that means we're going to place the 9's here. So there's these 2 squares here are a 4, 9 double, which means this square must be the 7. Right, so that means this is a 7 up here, simply as a result of this 7, and this 7, and the way that interacts on this top 3 by 3. Means we can place 7 pencil marks into there, and that's useful. Look at that, 7 pencil marks into there. Now we can do there's another X-wing, to be honest. That's probably the best way to describe it, but look at the positions of the 7's now in these squares. So we know that the 7 in this 3 by 3 block is locked into column 5 or column 6, and we know that the 7 in this 3 by 3 block is locked into column 5 or column 6. So we know that the final arrangement of 7's will either include a 7 here and a 7 here, or a 7 here and a 7 here. Now what does that mean? That means that we cannot have any more 7's in columns 5 and column 6. So in particular, this square here cannot contain a 7. You can immediately see, let me just show you, if I did put a 7 in here, I would be forcing a 7 into this square and a 7 into this square, which is going to break the puzzle. So this square cannot be a 7. We can remove that, and that means this one is the 7 up there. So, now where to go from here? Pencil mark some 6's there, look. 6's here. That means the 6 in this 3 by 3 block is forced upwards. It can't be in either of these two positions. It can't be in either of these two positions because of the pencil mark 6s over in this block, and therefore this square here is the only square left that can contain a 6 up there. That allows us to unwind the pencil marks at the bottom. It feels like we've got quite a lot of numbers in the grid here, but struggling to see the wall from the trees. I'm going to check column 3, 1, 3, 4 and 9 to place. You can see that forces a 1 into one of these two cells. Might be worth looking for another X-wing in a minute, but we'll hold off on that just for a second. 1, 3, 4, 9, 3, 3. Yeah, no, I can't see anything better. Let's just check the X-wing potential. Just to show you what I'm thinking of, I've noticed that if we look at column 3, the 1 is locked into one of these two cells. So if I can find another column where a similar thing has happened, the most obvious candidate is going to be this one. Let's check that in a sec. Then we might have another X-wing. So where can a 1 go in column 4? It can't go here because of this one. Can't go here, but it does seem to be able to go in any of those 3 positions. So I need to be able to eliminate it from here to get an X-wing. I've got what's called a finned X-wing already, which it might be worth thinking about, but let's just stare at this for a little longer. Not sure. You can see we have a 5 here and a 5 here, so I can pencil mark some 5s over there. Look. I don't think that's going to help. I can't use uniqueness because there's already an 8 here. Maybe I am going to have to look at this finned X-wing just to check whether it matters. So what I'm thinking here, just to explain very simply, is that if this square is not a 1, then I have an X-wing on 1s. And that will allow me to eliminate a 1 from all of the other positions in rows 5 and rows 8 that can at the moment contain a 1. So for example, this square here could not contain a 1 if this X-wing was true, and neither could this one. It would force a 1 upwards. Now, but of course we do have this fin on the edge of the X-wing here. So what if this 1 is actually true? Then I would still be able to eliminate a 1 from this cell, because obviously if this is a 1, this couldn't be a 1. So whether or not I'm either in the situation where this is the 1 or the X-wing is true, this cell here cannot contain a 1. And therefore I'm going to look at this cell and just see what the options are for it. So you can see it can't be a 1 for the reasons I've just explained. It can't be a 2 or a 3. We have a 2 here and a 3 here. It can be a 4, can't be a 5 or a 6 or a 7. Please don't let it be an 8. No, it can be an 8. It can't be a 9. So this is a 4-8 double in this square. So we nearly found progress there, but we're going to have to look at this because this cell is so restricted by the finned X-wing that maybe we can find something else, possibly in column 6. 2, 4. Okay, let's have a look. So if we look at column 6 here, this can be a 5 or an 8. So we've got 5, 8 here. This can be all sorts of things, I think. 2, 4, 5, 8. Square here, square here. This square here is more restricted. 1, 4, 8 there. Is there a way of eliminating the 1 from this square? I can't quite do it using the finned X-wing. It's tempted to think that the logic allows you to, but it doesn't. Because of the possibility this is the 1. You can see if this is the 1, there would be 2 positions that a 1 could go in this cell, so it's not right to be able to eliminate this one on the basis of the x-wing alone. But hang on a sec. If we look at, maybe there's another x-wing going on with ones here that's actually looking at the rows instead. If I look at let's look at row 6 and row 7 and ask where a 1 can go, because we can't place a 1 in either of these two cells. The 1 could go here or here, that's fine, but the 1 can't go here or here. It can go here or here, but it can't go here or here either because of this one. So there is an x-wing on ones, it's just not in the columns, it's in the rows. So that, therefore, is good enough, isn't it? Because now I know whichever the way the ones unwind themselves, we're either going to have a 1 here and a 1 here, or a 1 here and a 1 here. This cell cannot be a 1. So now that does open up column 6 for us, because we now have this 4-8 pair in column 6, which means this can't be an 8. This has to be a 5. That's nice. 5, 5. That must be a 5 now. Golly, this is a tough puzzle. 5, 5, 5. Surely that's going to be helpful. Let's go back to pencil marking. Pencil mark the 8s over there. Look, 1, 3, 4, 9. Again, it feels like we're very close to the final step here. Just not quite seeing it. Hang on. Now we can if we now look at column 6 again, you can see that we've got this 4-8 pair. So the open numbers are 1, 2, and 7. This square here can only be a 2. So let's put the 2 in. Unwind the pencil marks that we had earlier. That gives us a 2 there as well. We can eliminate this 2. Eliminating this 2 means we can unwind the x-wing we found earlier. This is going to have to be a 2, I think, for the reasons we discussed at the time. So that's a 2. That allows me to pencil mark little 2's into those 2 cells. 4, 9 here, so we need to place 3, 6 in the rest of the column. It's unbelievable that doesn't resolve itself now. How annoying. Let's check this one instead. We've got 5. Yeah, there we go. 5 and 8 to place in column 8. This one has to be a 5 now because of the 8 here. That means we have a 5 and an 8 unwinding like that. And we can pencil mark some little 8's over there. Still doesn't quite unwind. So now 1, 3, 6 are the open positions here, but you can see we don't have enough information to be able to do anything with the 3's in these positions. Similarly with 3, 6, 8 up here, again the dearth of 3's in the grid is hurting us. 9 here means we can pencil mark some 9's there. Look, maybe that's going to be useful. 9, 9. So there's a 9 in one of those 2 positions. Maybe not. Feel like we're one deduction away from cracking it, but the difficulty is that placement of the remaining numbers feels awkward. 3, 4. This is a 3 or an 8. Can't see how to make use of that. Obviously this is an 8, 9 pair up here. Again, I can't see how to make use of that. What next? Maybe we can we do that? Yes, we can. Yes, there is a way forward. Look, Now we have to use this 4-9 pair that we found and this 4-8 pair that we found. So I'll add some highlighting later, but that means that the 4s in columns 6 and 7 are locked into 3 different rows. This row, so that's row 5, row 7 and row 8. Now let's slide along and have a look at what's going on down column 1. You can see we can't place a 4 into this square, and we can't place a 4 into this square. So the 4s in column 1 are locked into one of those two positions. So here we've now got a complete set of 4s, if you like, in rows 5, 7 and 8, because we have, however we arrange the 4s that we've managed to locate in columns 1, 6 and 7, they will complete the 4s that we need in these rows. Now perhaps I should just take a moment just to prove that to you. So let's imagine firstly that this was a 4. What happens if this is a 4? Well, if this is a 4, you can see this can no longer be a 4, so the 4 is shifted down into this square, and then the 4-9 resolves itself by this being a 4. So we'd have a 4 here, a 4 here, and a 4 here. Now what happens if, on the other hand, this is the 4? If this is the 4, this 4-9 pair resolves itself in the opposite order, so this is forced to be a 4, and that means that the 4-8 pair resolves itself in the other order as well, and this is a 4. But in both ways, hopefully it's clear enough to see that we've managed to secure a 4 in each of the 3 rows that I'm mentioning: this row, and this row. Therefore there cannot be any more 4s in these rows, and this must eliminate something for us. So we now need to try and identify, that's, by the way, that is an example of a swordfish. We've covered it on the channel a few times. Not easy to see, but because we've had so many X-wings already, your spider sense ought to be tingling if you're doing a puzzle of this complexity. So now let's try and work out where this might be useful. So it could be useful here, for example. Let's just check. So we know this can't be a 4 because of the swordfish, so it can be a 1, it can be a 3 as well. Okay, I think this is going to be too open. Let's try this square. So this can't be a 1, can't be a 2, can't be a 3, can't be a 4 because of the swordfish, can't be a 5, 6, hopefully it can be something, can be a 7, look at that, yeah, can't be an 8 because of this 8, and can't be a 9 because we've pencil marked the 9s down here because of the 9s that we found up there. Wow, so this square has to be a 7. That is lovely. Now I need to be a bit careful here because I've been mucking around with pencil marks and making X-wing pencil marks and different pencil marks, so I must be very careful about how I unwind this. But I think it's fairly clear to me anyway that this square here has to be the 7 in this 3x3 block because we have a 7, a 7 and this 7 here, so this is going to be a 7. Let's put that in. We can eliminate these two 7s now. Now this must crack the puzzle, doesn't it? Surely. Let's just have a quick stare at this and see what we can see. Well, I guess one thing we can remind ourselves of is that we had identified this X-wing, haven't we? And now this corner of the X-wing has been taken up with a 7. So that means that the other corner of the X-wing must be true. This must be a 1, this must be a 1. So that ought to be useful. This means this is a 1 down here. Can eliminate this one. Surely that's going to give me something more. We can allow. We've got this other X-wing being unwound now. Well, I need to be a little careful with what I'm saying here, but you can see this square can no longer be a 1. And we know one of these two squares is a 1, So this was our fin from the original X-Wing we found, but I don't think we can still unwind it. How irritating. I suspect I'm missing something there, and I can, but I'm just being slow. Come on, Simon, what's the next step? So I feel like I'm floundering around here, not seeing what's just blatantly obvious to you guys watching the screen. Ah, yeah, we can do it. Look, this 8 and this 8 now are interacting here. Maybe I could have spotted that earlier. So this can't be an 8. I know, that's fine, because the X-Wing unwinding actually limited the 8s there. So that wasn't something I've missed during the solve. That was just something that's naturally occurring as a result of this 1 going into the puzzle. So I'm pleased about that. I feel the right Charlie if it turned out that it was some sort of naked single that would have cracked this puzzle ages ago. So this is now an 8. Now, does that allow us to do anything more? Yes, so that must be an 8, this must be a 6, and this must be a 3, which means this is a 3 here, which means this is a 6 and this is a 1. All I'm doing there is unwinding our earlier pencil marks, so this is now looking better. That means this is a 1, so the fin of the X-Wing was never true in the end. Don't want to. So now you can see this 8 here is locking this square to be an 8. Let's put that in, which means this must be the 9, which means this is a 9, and hopefully, if I haven't messed up, this should be a 4. This should be a 4, and this should be a 3. That all looks like it's working, I think, doesn't it? Now this is a 9 now, because it's the only square a 9 will go in. Let's just check now. I'm going to have a look at column 2. So we've got to place 3, 4 and 9. That's annoying. It seems to be still possible that this could be a 3 or a 4. Then this 8 here and this 8 here means there's only one place an 8 can go in this 3x3 block, and that's here, which means this must be a 4 and this must be the 8. So finally, I think that we're I think the puzzle has finally yielded now. It won't just be too soon, but you can see that now we can place 4 9 pencil marks here. This square here must be a 3, which means this must be a 3. Again, that still looks to me like it's working. This is going to have to be a 4. That's a 2. 4, 4, 9, which means this is an 8, this is a 9, this is a 2, this is a 9, and this is a 4. Wow, what a puzzle. That has taken me forever, but I suppose once in a while it is hopefully interesting to look at an absolute beast of a puzzle, which I think this was. Please, please don't let me have missed something very simple there, because that would be very deeply irritating, and you will be watching the video and saying Simon is a moron. But anyway, I will post this later on today, and thank you for watching. If you do enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. And as promised, we'll be back soon with an Okuyama puzzle from Niccoli, which is very, very exciting for us, and I hope for you too. Thanks for watching.